Oh yeah, we got some cool vibes here on a Sunday evening. It is Plate and Ponder, Empty Nesting with Jen and Chris Fenton, and we have lots to talk about today.
We are officially empty nesters, and I'm going to tell you why I say that, because I feel a little old. I feel like my grandparents, and I'm going to tell you why.
Well, wait. Hang on one second. Let me just tell people what to do really quick. First, you need to go wherever you find your podcasts. Tell everybody about them. All the people you know in all 71 countries that were carried in. Tell them to download, to follow, to listen, to enjoy, and to review. And give us all kinds of ideas. DM me, because I am out there, even though Jen keeps herself on lockdown, just like 11 scientists where we don't know where they are. But tell us any ideas that you have for the show, because we're always open to them. Anyway, without further ado, Jen Fenton, take it away.
You say that, and then I start talking about an idea, and then you change the topic. So
because I have to do the intro.
Well, then why even look at me as if I'm supposed to start that conversation?
Oh, because I just want to look at you the whole time while I'm talking. Well, I wasn't giving you a cue. I would go like this.
It felt like a cue.
No, it wasn't a cue.
Well,
it was more like a you.
Maybe we need to work on our communication skills.
Well, you should have been able to read my eyes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I'm cueing you. What were you about to say about us being empty nesters and Sunday mornings and stuff?
And old, because we now watch Jane Pauley in the morning on the CBS morning show, and we always seem to wake up in time for the last segment where she plays some scene in nature and you hear the birds chirping, and I swear my grandparents used to watch it.
Yes, that's 100% the case. Now, let me just say why that's on. There happens to be all the morning press shows, the Washington, D.C. Beltway shows, Meet the Press, Face the Nation, all of them. They used to all start at 8 o'clock West Coast time. Now there's one that starts at 7:30, which is the CBS Face the Nation. To get to that, which starts at 7:30, you have to tune into, CBS for, 5 minutes leading in, just so you don't miss it. And that tends to be the end of the CBS Sunday morning, which is literally made for people that I think are like 85, 90 years old.
We're a little younger than the demographic they're
how old is Jane Pauley?
I don't know.
We might have to look it up. Yeah, look her up. But what's interesting is that if anybody has seen it, it's a very...
She's 75.
She's only 75?
Yes.
I feel like I was like 3 years old watching her on the Today Show.
I don't know. Just telling you.
Wow, that's impressive. Yeah, if anybody's ever watched it, it's really sort of gravy, mashed potatoes type of meal of news. And then there's always like feel good things, and then it leads into, and now we're going to leave you with a minute of nature, and they show you like a...
Yeah, but this is how I know we're empty nesters, because when the kids obviously were younger, even when they were teens, I don't think we were ever home in time, number one, to have that on, because we were driving to Norco, or we were driving to like Tustin for a cheer competition, or you were on the road back east with Dylan, or we were sleeping in because the kids rolled in at like 3 a.m. and we were all really tired.
I can't remember the last time we slept in past 7:30, but go ahead. I'll go with it.
But still, we definitely didn't turn that on. I feel like that is what old people do.
It's definitely what old people do. And I did turn 55 last month.
Right,
so.
But I'm only 48. I'm not even in my 50s yet. So
No.
I'm not going to qualify myself as old, but I feel like our Sunday morning behavior qualifies as old people.
Yeah, it does. In fact, even the fact that I use a record scratch is sort of old school, because I don't think most kids even know what a record player is.
No, DJ, like the whole revival of the DJ is pretty cool.
Yeah,
While
they're
they're
like
not using turntables,
Yeah, exactly.
I still think that record scratch is a pretty known sound.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Well, one thing about being 55 is that, you have your physical every year, and you find out that you have, like, for me, I have a little, like a tinge of high blood pressure. So I've been cutting salt out of my diet, which if anybody is excited to make food taste a little blander, I highly recommend it. It's pretty unbelievable. Like, salt is really tasty.
But what's so funny is, for those of you who know Chris well, and who are friends with you and maybe have followed you for a while, you are all or nothing. Like, you dive head first and you put 100% into it. So as soon as you found out that you had this salt, this salt issue, I will say, you did some research and you have purchased every single snack that is low sodium. I am talking about chips. I am talking about nuts. I am talking about crackers and bread and juices and butter. And I mean, you are now looking at the salt label for the Rayo's marinara sauce, which apparently is high in sodium for you.
Yeah, I've also realized in order to do that, I actually have to have a magnifying glass in order to read the sodium content of all this stuff. But
so wait, are you saying that this is another way we're illustrating that we're old?
No, we're
between Jane
seasoned.
Paul,
we're seasoned without salt. Without salt.
Well, we're
salt. We're seasoned with low salt. What's sad is there's a lot of things that I didn't realize how insanely sodium based they are.
Like, even Tapatio has sodium.
Like, by the way, low sodium soy sauce, forget about it. Like, that's that doesn't exist.
That does not shock me.
And so much for good sushi and sashimi.
Well, no, that's not. I disagree with you. You, again, going back to the all or nothing, you like to douse your sushi in soy sauce. Like, you could just have a little soy sauce. You don't need to have the entire bottle.
I do love good sushi with soy sauce and a lot of wasabi. Right. Is wasabi have sodium in it?
Probably.
Oh man, that's bad if it does. Okay, so yeah, but that, and then there's everything from like tomato sauce to, by the way, hot sauce. Like, hot sauce has a
mustard.
lot. Mustard has a lot. Cheese has why? Why does everybody put salt in everything? Just make it without salt. I do have salt-free potato chips. I will tell you, they don't taste as good.
They probably crunch.
They do crunch. That is a good thing. And the plantain chips that I pretend that I'm eating chips, but it's not quite the same thing. But you know what's great about weekends is that's a cheat. Those are cheat days. So what did I have Friday night? I had pizza.
You had pizza,
which we talked about. Saturday night, we went to that volleyball game out in Malibu, which is a topic we'll talk about.
Sure.
But I had steak frites.
You did.
And I didn't ask them to rub the salt off of the frites. Anyway, so that's a little banter. So what are the things that we're going to talk about today, Jen?
Well, is this a cue, or am I going to suggest something and you're going to do
It's a QRSTUVW. What comes after that? Y and Z?
Oh, man.
X, Y, and Z.
Okay, so, oh boy, we are fully dating ourselves. I feel like we've had like a bender of a weekend, although it's actually been quite relaxing.
Oh, yeah.
It's been quite relaxing. So here's what's crazy, and this probably goes back to the Jane Pauley news, because again, we're old. Tonight, we were watching the 5 o'clock news as we were cooking dinner, because now we have turned into our grandparents where the news is on first thing and the news is on at dinner time. And they had Geraldo Rivera.
Well, by the way, I've been trying this. There's news. I've done News Nation, but I've not been on it, but I don't really watch it. But I've been told that it's trying to be down the middle, not left or right. So I'm giving it a little shot as far as national news is that
concerned. Why it was on?
Yes, that's why I'm trying it.
And Geraldo Rivera was on.
Yes, that was interesting.
Which is interesting because I think a couple of episodes we actually mentioned Geraldo, and we mentioned him doing the episode, I don't remember this, unveiling Al Capone's tomb.
Yes, the Al Capone tomb, which as a kid I remember watching along with literally everybody else in the country, and the huge letdown that it was after we watched it for like 2 hours and then suddenly he pops it open and there's nothing in it.
Okay, well, here's going to be a mind explosion for you. Geraldo said this is the 40th anniversary of that episode. 40.
40th?
Yes. On Tuesday, it's going to be the 40th. Does that make you feel old? Are we geriatric?
I don't know, but that's my mind explosion. Wow. 40 years ago. Yes. So I was 15 watching that, and literally if you ever bring up Geraldo Rivera's name, that's what you think of when you think of him in that pencil thin mustache or whatever, that curly
He still
mustache.
had it today.
Does he really?
Yeah.
I wonder if he's older than Jane Pauley.
I could check, but what I do want to talk about with Geraldo is something that...
But wait, that was 40 years ago.
Yes.
And you realize, I think to this day, as he was saying, it's the highest rated syndicated live television event ever. It outdid the Super Bowl that year, which was the Chicago Bears, which was in a huge Super Bowl. It blew the socks off of anything. I mean, it holds all kinds of records.
Was
it's
that
crazy.
Nielsen ratings back then?
Yeah, they had Nielsen ratings, but then what was even more interesting is that he actually I haven't really followed the story since I was completely disappointed by it, I guess 40 years ago, but he actually said, she said, "Well, what do you think about Tuesday being the anniversary?" And he's like, "Well, I'm still a little ashamed by it, but I have to say I'm pretty proud that people are still talking about it 40 years later and all the records we broke and all that stuff." And she's like, "Well, why are you ashamed by it?" And he's like, "Well, I mean, it was sort of a letdown when I opened that thing up and Al Capone, like the greatest gangster of all time, left nothing in his safe." So what was interesting is I think there was controversy back during the day, and I'd have to look it up, where everybody was like, "Oh, he knew there was nothing in it. He just created this crazy story like they had opened up prior and blah, blah, blah."
No, I don't think he did. But, there's other stories. And this gets me thinking, and I don't want to be the tinfoil hat, as you call it. But what happened to Luigi, the guy that shot, what was it, the healthcare CEO? What was his name? Luigi
Mangione.
Yeah, what happened to him?
Is that another mind explosion of I hadn't thought about him. I feel like we brought him up on a podcast and then there was some sort of hearing that occurred, but then I don't know if anything really happened after
what
that.
about the shooter from Brown that allegedly killed the scientist?
The plasma scientist.
But we don't know what the connection was.
Well, what's interesting is I'm curious if they're going to find out that plasma scientist is the 12th missing scientist in the same type of discipline.
Okay, you bring that up. So there are 11 scientists who have gone missing. Just pure, peace
but have
out.
they gone, let me ask you this, because we were watching the news story tonight. Have they gone missing where it seems like, oh, well, yeah, they obviously, had all their stuff with them and maybe ran for the hills, or perhaps they
wanted a new life. I don't know.
Yeah.
There was one story where there's a female scientist who left behind her wallet. She left behind her cell phone.
She left behind everything.
Everything, but her cell phone was scrubbed clean.
Yeah, cell phone
That's
somehow
weird.
had nothing on it.
That's
now,
weird.
Okay. I just don't even know how to start that boom, because that's...
Okay, I've got another one for you.
And the other thing is that I was watching this because a lot of the on Twitter, where a lot of the Epstein people also were,
Epstein mentioned
yes,
again.
a lot of them were talking about this particular, all these scientists missing. I was like, oh, this is another tinfoil hat thing. But no, actually, Trump and the FBI has now been talking about it. Now mainstream media is also talking about it. So it's obviously a thing that's no longer tinfoil hat wearing. It's now more of, wait, what is going on here? Why are all these scientists that were all in sort of these very, very disciplined, super high tech, super high, confidential type of, research and discovery, why are they all missing at the same time?
Okay, I've got another one for you. What happened to Charlie Kirk's assassin?
Yeah, that one is interesting. I've heard that they are trying to get the trial, if it ever goes to trial, public, and I guess the judge doesn't want it, or somebody is pushing to make sure none of it is outed in the public. There's all kinds of weird conspiracies and things going on around that thing. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that's come out about Charlie, who I knew and did his show, some of the warning signs that he was giving prior to this all going down, and whether there was some sort of, for lack of a better word, conspiracy, or a handful of people involved in doing whatever happened there. There's the conversation of whether that was the bullet from the gun that they say shot him and was with that guy that shot him, or did it come from somewhere else, et cetera, et cetera. There's a million different things that are going on out there. I don't know what the actual reality is of it. I'm going with the easiest, cleanest version, which is what the government has been telling us. But I do.
You believe everything the government tells you?
No, I don't. But yeah.
Okay,
I've
got another
Let's
one
see
for
what
you.
happens.
What happened to the guy that killed the two, congressional members in Minnesota?
Oh yeah, they dressed up as a policeman and shot them and was involved with what's his face, the former vice presidential candidate. Why am I forgetting his name? Harris Waltz. Governor Waltz. He was involved with some committee that he had him on, and that was very strange too. What happened to that story?
I don't know. And what about Nancy Pelosi's husband who got clubbed in the knee? Wasn't there some sort of affiliation between the attacker and the husband?
Yeah, well, there's definitely a lot of speculation that was maybe a John that had gone wrong, that he had hired. And then there was a lot of weirdness about how he behaved when the cops came, and it looked like he wasn't in jeopardy, and then he suddenly was, or whatever. But I think ultimately that guy did plead guilty. But who knows whether he was forced to or not? I don't know.
Then wrapping it up, and we've talked about this before, Savannah Guthrie's mom. Here's my point. My point is that you have these sensational headlines.
There's no follow-up
and
with
that's
journalists.
Exactly it. So is it because we as a public have ADD? Or is it just that there's the next new thing? I mean, just tonight, it's horrific, but we heard about a father in Louisiana who
brutal.
killed, 7 kids, 10 kids?
8 kids.
8 kids between the ages of 1 and 14?
12. Yeah,
1 and 12 or something like that?
Yeah, it's
Are
terrible.
we going to hear follow-up, or is this just going to be a headline that's pumped through all the news stations, and then we're not going to know anything about it?
Well, that one
I kind of want a wrap up. Maybe
Yeah.
that's what I'm asking for. I just want to know how things close.
That one seems to have it seems to be limited in a sort of a conspiratorial sense, because it seems it was some sort of domestic issue or whatever it was. That one doesn't feel like it was affiliated with anything that we're talking about on a geopolitical level.
No, but I'm just using it as a headline that we just heard, and I hope that there is some follow up.
Yeah,
because I need that almost to close it up in my mind. Otherwise, it's going to keep coming up. What happened to that guy? Why did he do it? What was the motive? What happened? Are there any survivors? This is going to plague my brain.
Well, I mean, I think I've actually joked with my dad about this too, because he always remarks about how these big stories come out and then you never hear anything else that ever happened with them. And every once in a while there's a documentary that pops up, like the missing Malaysian jetliner, whatever happened with
all the gold.
Well, that was one of the theories, that it was a gold transfer to Beijing. And
do you think it's lost? Are they on some island?
Who knows? I mean, it could have landed in Iran and is literally financing all the Iranian.
Wait, what about the news story? I know you guys are probably hating this. I apologize. What about the news story? A woman who was caught outside of LAX last night, and apparently she's been selling missiles and ammunition and all sorts of war materials to Iran.
Yeah.
Undercover for decades.
Well, what's weird about that one is I looked it up on our local, the national news carried it, but the local news, it's not on the front page, which is strange, but maybe it's on LA Times. I got to look again, but I just heard that story a couple
tonight
minutes ago.
on the news when we were watching as we were making dinner, because we're old.
Apparently it was a big scene too at LAX getting
we didn't hear anything about
this person. Well, which leads me also into Iran right now, which is it is really hard to understand exactly what's going on in that conflict. I mean, the fog of war and the game of chess that war is, and the war gaming that you do. I could argue that some of these very vocal texts that are quite aggressive from Donald Trump might have other meaning or other strategies involved that we're not privy to, and we're just going, oh my God, I can't believe he just said that. Or they flat out could just be these stream of consciousnesses that he throws on Twitter, and we're all going, what the heck is going on here?
Take the phone away.
Yeah, but we are in the middle of supposedly a ceasefire, but apparently as we speak right now, there is a strong fleet of fighter jets flying over Syria towards Iran from the Israelis. There's also a blockade that is ongoing in the Strait of Hormuz by Iran and also by the United States of America. And then what happened today, which is not very ceasefire-y, if that's an adjective, is there was an Iranian ship trying to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. Our Navy said, stop, we have a blockade, you're not allowed to pass. They said, screw you, and they went, and our Navy shot the ship and destroyed its engine room. I gotta say, that's a pretty precise, awesome thing to do. How do you know exactly where the engine room is? I get you think where it might be, and how do you not sink the ship when you do that? I mean, that's a pretty interesting tactical move, but apparently they crippled the ship. It's not moving, but it's not sinking. And then they boarded the ship, and the United States is now occupying this Iranian ship. Now, what's even crazier is this Iranian ship apparently had a transportation going on between China and Iran. So it'll be very interesting to find out what they find on that ship.
Do you think we're actually going to find out?
Well, I don't know if we're going to find out. I mean, if it's a national security issue or something, we won't find out publicly. I think we'll get some version of what might be on there. But this could create a bigger scale problem geopolitically with the other superpower across the Pacific, and one that Donald Trump is supposed to be visiting in roughly a month from now. If that was actually essentially us hijacking or taking over a ship that was in the middle of a trade between the Iranians and the Chinese, that elevates this whole thing.
Yeah, it does.
And I think that's why we're seeing futures crashing a bit tonight, although I don't really think too much of it because they're one tweet away from going the opposite direction.
Right. It's so volatile. Speaking of volatility, let's talk about the jet fuel shortage in Europe.
Yeah, well, that is
because that's a direct result of what's happening.
Well, that's a real problem for everybody that's got plans this summer. If it's really true, their energy secretary from Brussels, which I guess is in charge of the European Union energy supply,
like agency or something.
Yeah,
sure.
Said there's roughly 6 weeks left of jet fuel. It seems crazy that why wouldn't they just call us up and say, hey, can you guys ship some over?
Well, I did some research, and you are seeing flight cancellation. So like KLM has already started to cancel roughly like 160 flights,
Yikes.
Which is about 1% of their schedule next month. But you're seeing, according to the research, that the secondary hubs are more at risk. So places like London Heathrow and Paris's Charles de Gaulle, they have diverse supply lines, but it's those smaller regional hubs that are likely going to dry up first. The other thing that I read is even if a peace deal were brokered tomorrow, right, like signed, sealed, and delivered, that it could take up to 2 years to return to pre-war production levels.
Wow.
That's
interesting.
I mean, does that seem realistic?
Well, I do think it's, I'm seeing it firsthand because, as you know, my brother-in-law is coming into town this week because I'm taking off for Nashville, right? So that Delta, the Delta coach flights to Nashville, I think round trip were $1,180.
That's ridiculous.
That's really high for that's just normal. Like if you want the comfort seat,
I would say
whatever,
a year ago was that like 380, 400 maybe.
Yeah, it's only it's 3.5 hours there, a little bit over 4 back. It's not a huge flight, and there's a fair amount of competition with Southwest and American going there. So like it's pretty crazy that you're at $1,200 for a basic basic coach seat.
We got to book our kids to come home because I know that we got to fly Dylan back from Canada.
Yeah.
And that's really only Air Canada. maybe Porter Air, but it's really only Air Canada.
It's really Air Canada.
And they don't have as many direct, right, nonstop flights as they used to.
What do we have? We have 3 a day from Montreal?
No, I
maybe
think it's
4.
less. I think this is the off season. I think when we go back into the fall, we'll probably see the number of flights pick up. But if I remember correctly, I think I looked a couple of days ago, there were only 2 non-stops.
I think there are 3 now.
And then we got to get Kaylee home. But the flights from LA to New Orleans or New Orleans to LA, those have been astronomical. One ways have been like $700.
Yeah. So we're starting to see this
here.
hit. I mean, if I had to make a bet, I think we're going back into war. You know, I don't know what that entails,
what that
but
means.
There's going to be shelling going on. There'll be drones flying. Like, there's no way this, like, it seems like there's this half-assed attempt to go try to negotiate something here. I believe Israel's going to probably make a move on Lebanon, southern Lebanon again. That's not going to hold. I think we have issues in the Strait of Hormuz where ships are trying to test the waters a bit. I don't even know how they are insured. I mean, the Chinese from or to ships probably have some sort of other type of insurance, not a Lloyd's of London deal, but everybody else I don't think can get through there because they can't get insurance. But we're going to see some more, probably attacks on those various commercial ships and possibly military ships. We're definitely going to see some drones. We're definitely going to see various other missiles and projectiles, and I would imagine that's going to pull us straight back into shelling Iran. And where this all leads, who knows? I gotta put that air horn out there because this is hopefully it stays contained and we don't have nuclear powers get more involved in this thing. I mean, obviously Pakistan is not interested in using a nuke around this stuff. I think we've, shown a little bit of a belligerent idea of maybe a tactical. I think China obviously is, if they have to get involved in this thing, it heightens our, the stress around the nuclear 24-hour a day code. Or what does it do? It gets up to like 11:57 at night, like we're approaching the midnight hour. That's how they measure the stress on keeping things non-nuclear.
We watched a Netflix movie on that.
Yeah, what was the name of it? It was a Catherine Bigelow movie, I think.
Forget.
Anyway, so let's talk about something that's not as global, but is also sort of disheartening. Like, we went up to the Pepperdine University to go watch Andrew and Zach Chapin play each other, USC versus Pepperdine in men's volleyball. It was the last game in their field house at Pepperdine before they move into a new one. So it was a huge fanfare. It was sold out. It was an incredible game. It was amazing watching those boys play. But
and
to get
play each other. At one
yeah.
point, they were both on the court playing each other, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. But to get there, you drive through the Palisades. Now, for people that don't know the PCH here along the coastline, the Palisades, you can't really see the fire, where the fire burned up that whole town, that whole part of Los Angeles, because it's high up on a bluff. Other than a handful of mobile home parks, very high-end mobile home parks that are along down by the PCH, which are completely gone. They're just gone, and there's no sign of rebuilding. But as you get to Malibu, that's when you can really see, you can touch and feel the devastation that happened almost a year and a half ago. We passed by 700 something houses that burned down. How many did you see rebuilt along the PCH?
0. And you see for sale signs on all of these vacant lots with maybe remnants of the foundation of the structure. It almost looks like if you've ever flown to Mexico, and maybe you've flown to Puerto Vallarta, and you go from Puerto Vallarta to like Punta Mita or Sayulita, and you drive through this town, and the town has like lots of cement foundation and some half-built homes, half-built buildings. But it definitely, I mean, Malibu kind of looks like a third world country right now. It's devastating. And then all of a sudden you'll see a pocket of like 4 or 5 homes that haven't been touched.
Yeah, it looks like a third world country that was hit by war.
Right.
Frankly.
And you've got, and the other thing that was super surprising was to see the spray paint on remnants of
the
structures
graffiti.
and
It's
the
terrible.
graffiti.
There's so much
It's
vandalism.
Like, what?
Yeah, it's talk about wiping misery on top of misery. There's graffiti everywhere on whatever structures still have a wall of some sort around, which by the way is not a lot
that
of
many,
structures.
no.
And what's even more amazing for people that have not been on the PCH in Malibu, we're talking about Malibu right now, not Pacific Palisades. Pacific Palisades had a whole other issue with like 5,000 something homes. Malibu, I think, lost roughly 850, something like that. And about 700 of them you can see from the PCH because they're either right on the ocean or they're right on the hillside.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that a lot of them you thought had some land, but they really didn't because the fires got so hot that they burnt the caissons that were holding up the land underneath these houses. Because
that was what was so surprising. And I kept saying to you, I'm like, where is, like, I don't understand. The cliff is gone. Like, how were these houses built into the actual, like, the retaining wall? I could not understand it.
Yes, you literally have you had a PCH that would then on the side of the ocean have maybe, 10 to $50 million houses hanging out over the ocean. But the way they were built is they sort of look like they were on land that stuck out from where the PCH ended. Well, it turns out, and I had actually lived in a house that survived, believe it or not, just north of Moon Shadows, 20440 PCH. That and a handful of other duplexes next to it had survived, but everything around it was gone.
Okay, that brings me actually to a question, if I may interrupt. So we know a lot of people who were in the Palisades, and if their house didn't burn down, they had to leave because the smoke and what it had done, the smoke damage that it had done to the homes was just too much to even live in that structure. What was interesting, though, is you had like a row of houses that were burnt down, and then maybe you had 4 or 5 or 6 dwellings. And because it was night, you could see lights were on, cars were there. We even saw somebody, walking out their front door. How do homes like that are right next to other homes that burned down, how are they living in those structures?
Yeah,
that would seem to be inhabitable to me.
I don't know if we saw it. We didn't see many that were maybe, say, right next to them, but definitely in the same vicinity. My guess is they had to...
Does the ocean just clear it out?
No, not at all. You have to go in, you have to rip out all of the insulation, all the drywall, because it sucks up all that smoke. Like, so they call the houses, the still standing houses that look fine, they call them smokers, because when you walk in, they smell like smoke. Okay. Like, no matter what you do. So you literally have to rip everything out of the house. You can't have any furniture, nothing.
Okay, but I don't think they did that.
Oh, I'm sure they did.
I don't know. And then
we're a year and a half later.
All right, I'm going to bring up another question, because like with schools, if you touch a structure that was not ADA compliant or is not ADA compliant, because maybe it was built in the 70s and now obviously several years later, if you go to modernize that structure, you have to bring everything up to code. So I'm assuming a lot of these homes were built in 70s, 80s, whatever it is. They probably are not up to code now. So do you have to bring everything up to code, or are we just going to remediate the smoke damage?
Well, there's 2 great podcasts for anybody that wants to go down the rabbit hole and actually really get into the granular of what's going on both in the Palisades and Malibu. The Palisades one is called 3 Homeless Guys. It's run by Joel Pollack, who's actually has been a longtime writer and journalist. The other one is Rebuild and Chill, which is a Malibu-focused rebuilding podcast. And to answer your question, I think a majority of the houses that you saw that were standing, other than the duplex I was in, which I think was built in the 60s, most of them were newer. So they have septic tanks that may be at code today, which, by the way, if you're rebuilding, it's literally, I think, like a $2.5 million restructuring of your septic system in order to even get just the base of your house ready to go to build on. But then on top of it, all the other code stuff, that's going to make it almost impossible for a lot of those people to rebuild. The stuff that is standing, they probably get grandfathered a bit where they're just seen as like a renovation or something rather than a rebuild. So maybe, taking out the drywall and the insulation, but keeping the structure intact, maybe that saves them from having to do some major sort of redo in order to get up to code. I don't know the answer to that, but I will tell you those podcasts are fantastic for going down the rabbit hole and understanding really the complexities of what's happening there. I think the last time I listened to Rebuild and Chill, it was maybe it was like 35 permits out of 850 homes had been approved. It's so terrible. It's like a very, very small percentage.
Wow. This has been a really exciting evening.
Well, it has been an exciting evening because you know what? Our kids are coming home in 2 weeks.
You are so rainbow and unicorn. We literally just talked about crap after poo-poo.
No, we talked about an amazing game last night.
Okay, that was good. But like all of our topics tonight were kind of heavy.
By the way, we reconnected with Evan Wender, which we talked about last week.
Yes. But all of our topics tonight were kind of heavy. And I love how you just pivot to your rainbow and unicorn. Like everything's going to be fine. We're just going to watch our sunset. We're going to take our dog for a walk. Life is good. Meanwhile, I'm totally depressed.
I don't think you need to be depressed on a Sunday afternoon. It's actually almost sunset here in Southern California. It's beautiful. It's 72 and sunny here every day. You look beautiful. I'm looking more beautiful now because I am cutting down the salt intake, which, by the way, has cut away a couple pounds. I mean, I was never really overweight, but my six-pack is becoming more prevalent,
yeah.
Right? Which is nice.
Rainbows and unicorns.
Rainbows and unicorns. And we're going to go for a walk with Farnaz and Lawrence later and talk about geopolitical events, hopefully in a more happy manner. And I don't know. I'm just listening to some groovy music in the background. Like I'm loving life.
I'm depressed still.
Don't be depressed.
I'm depressed.
I'll help you out of it. Anyway.
Thanks for listening.
Did we cover everything we need to?
I think I'm wiped.
Well, say hi to my brother-in-law while I'm gone.
I will.
And I am going to enjoy Nashville as much as I can without you by my side, which is always, it's never going to be a 10. It will be probably a 7. But until next time, this is Plate and Ponder Empty Nesting with Jen and Chris Fenton. We promise to make it more happy and playful and fun next time. Let's just get through this Iranian conflict somehow. What do you say?
Night.
Have a good night.
Bye.
We love you.